Hi everyone. So it's our next expert talks. If I'm not mistaken, it's the number 8. And today's host is Nari, a very dear friend to HBC. She's a Google Ads strategist, a digital transformation coach, a really good expert of digital marketing, and as I said, a dear partner to HBC. Welcome, Nari. It's very nice to meet you.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Hi, Susanna. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for the invitation to share some exclusive insights on digital transformation, which is one of my favorite topics so far. And I'm happy to share the coming 1 hour with you.
Yes, I'm also very happy about the topic itself because it couldn't arrive in our life at a better time because recently I have received personally a lot of requests about digital transformation. So many companies post-pandemic are trying to find relevant information about it, information that is filtered, that is of high quality and has some credibility in it. So I think that I couldn't invite a better person for this topic than you, a person who has overseen so many projects, and you have you were the supervisor, right? And you oversaw all these kind of processes of transforming businesses in their digitalization process. So could you please take the time and introduce yourself better than I did and tell our audience about your background?
Thank you so much. Of course, I'll do so. I am a digital marketing specialist. The past 10 years, I've been doing digital marketing. Actually, that's how I ended up doing digital transformation. Just 10 years ago, I was just doing my first steps in the world of digital marketing, and that's when it was just the very point when digital transformation as a coin appeared in the world, and that's when I was introduced to that. And at that point, I was working as a search engine optimization specialist, and I got to understand how big of an impact can a technology have on a day-to-day business processes. Ever since 10 years have passed, I've been changing my career. I've been doing all kinds of different activities, from inbound marketing to outbound to marketing to business coaching, pretty much everything. But then eventually, after doing all those kind of things, I came to understand that technology plays a huge impact on those processes. But more than technology, there is something else that affects decision making, which is the people component, the culture, the vibe, the surroundings. That's how I became a business coach for businesses, and currently I am an independent contracted professional for European Bank for Transformation and Development, EBRD, and also I deliver independent trainings on digital transformation. I provide business coaching sessions. I work as a marketer for SMEs in Armenia and abroad. And for the past 3 years, I've been working for Google as a Google Ads strategist. And during the last 2 years, I just made a huge move, and I settled down in Armenia, where I founded 2 companies, just making sure that during the time pandemic, there is still some opportunities for transformation, even on a personal or professional level. So that's my story, and I'll be happy to the things that are literally based on my personal experiences, on what I have seen, I've come through. I mean, I've just had a chance to experience.
Oh, well, that's amazing, Nari. Thanks for such an elaborate response to my question. Let's get started then. I will share our presentation with our viewers, and before doing so, I would like to mention that should you have any questions in between, should you want to address both me and Nari while we're going to go through the slides and explain you every single detail, please feel welcome to ask your questions in the comment section, and we'll make sure to address each one of them. Thank you so much. So here we go.
Very good. Let's kick off our today's session. It's going to be really very interactive. I expect you to ask me all kinds of things, and just maybe share your experiences as well. I'm pretty sure if you are here, then you definitely at a certain point have been working working on the digital transformation or one of that. So I want to just ask you whether you want to do digital transformation in the coming months or not. Feel free to ask me questions and I'll try to provide some answers. So let's start off. Could you please go to the next slide?
Yeah, sure.
Just the next one too. As I already introduced myself, so let's go straight to I want to just introduce a little bit who this training is for, so it's clear why we have gathered here. So this is not just for companies, because even if you represent a company, you can benefit from it. But I think the biggest value and the biggest impact behind these kind of webinars is to serve the needs of people, because people work for companies, people stand for digital transformation. So I want to say that whatever your goal is, your presence here is very, very much valued, and you're going to come up with a lot of nice ideas, because if you stay until the end of the webinar, I'm going to show you not only 6 key areas where you can implement digital transformation, but also a roadmap to the implementer. You can go out of this training with a little escapada, as we say it in Spanish, to the world of digital transformation. So you can say, wow, I came, I saw, imagine, but still I need to study more because it's a huge topic. Even if I speak for hours and days, there will still be a lot of things that you'll say, wow, this thing was not sufficient. So just bear with me. The topic is big, but we're going to just rock it. So let's go ahead. And I want to set up the agenda. The next slide, please. Agenda today is going to be all of the what, why, and how behind digital transformation. I'm going to show you the roadmap, as I already mentioned, with 6 key directions to apply at work. Also, I'm going to show those a little bit confidential secrets as to how we did, why we did, and what actually what takeaways we have there, and how they served us in my career. So that's it. Let's start. Exactly. So let's start by breaking myths. That's one of my favorite parts, because I have a chance to talk on digital transformation. I know that at least one person who is here is going to think that just by installing one program, whoever it is, even if it's Zoom, even if it's Zoho or Zapier or any other product starting with Z, it is a digital transformation. But this is not so. I was also thinking like that before I came to see that even if the most expensive, the best, the most relevant tool is in the hands of a wrong hand, you'll not be able to make the best use of the chance of that tool. So today we are here to show you that digital transformation is not just about technology. There's a lot of different kinds of things behind it. And transformation, even if it may seem hard or painful, or it may take a lot of money to implement, it's not always like that. You just need to let it go. You just need to say, let me just try it. Because, for instance, as a marketer, I usually say that marketing is all about experimentation. Unless you experiment, say whether something works or not, right? So same way, digital transformation has to be tried and tested, and then different conclusions should be made. So let's go to the next one, where I'm going to open the brackets and I'm going to show.
For that, if you don't mind, I would like to just say something to your point. So the same as it works with performance marketing, and one can never judge an ads campaign performance of just running one campaign, right? There is a lot of A/B testing needed to be done before making conclusions and before understanding, okay, this copy doesn't work, this banner doesn't work, let's try something else. The same with digitalization, and the point that you made, that people are as of an asset as technology when it comes to digitalization. It's so true. I have myself witnessed so many times when very nicely designed processes fail because of the incompetence or not enough educated or trained people in hand of it, who are handling it. So yes, digitalization includes both technology-wise solutions as well as training of the people who will handle it.
That's absolutely so.
Yeah, so let's move to the next slide.
Okay, so through proven realities, why transformation has to happen, and now it's your chance to go for transformation. So usually when we transformation, we know that they bring about loads of new things, right? They give birth to new ideas, new methods, new approaches. Like you come to whatever company and you see what the people that work here in this company think about digital mindset. And then when you give them a chance to come up with new ideas, people open up, and then you say, voila, a lot of things were discovered just within this, let's say, small group of people who just express their interest in some particular process at work, right? So transformation, other than this, it instills a lot of confidence in people, right? That helps you to see beyond the technologies, helps you to understand that everything new should not be met with resistance, because we as people, I'm telling you as a coach, usually take everything new with resistance. We say, oh, better that the tried and tested, I'm going to enter into a market where I'm quite new. But then when we try this becomes the old one, and then the technology gets involved, and we have new tools, and we keep testing. Sorry. So I want to say that it's all about trying new things, but of course with calculating the risks. If you don't have a budget, you can't go and buy tools which are not for the company, not relevant in that specific context or a content, right? So let's go to the next slide.
There was, by the way, a time when I was working in a medical technology company. It was years ago, and there were a lot of digital transformations occurring in the department where I was working. I was working in sales department, and we were dealing with a lot of pre-sales and post-sales things. So there was a lot of organizational things included. And I remember one thing distinctively. There were so many people in the department so afraid of losing their job once the digitalization happens, and they were so afraid of automation, things like no more manual doing of this task, etc. And I was thinking, okay, a company going through a digitalization or a department going through a digitalization or a process going to digitalization meant also like kind of teaching their employees, like you have to do it as well, like personally, on a personal level, you have to upgrade your skills that will match the new standards, that will match the new way of doing things. Otherwise, you'll just get lost in this whole process or even lose your job.
There's so much truth in what you just mentioned. It's a very common thing. Usually happens in the corporate world, but of course, there are stories and stories on that. But of course, as you mentioned, Susanna, it's really important to get out of your comfort zone, right? Why comfort zone? Because we are in a very uncomfortable way, sitting in our comfort zones, thinking that everything is fine, that we're comfortable at what we're doing. Stop for a second and ask yourself, what do you feel about your job? And then you can see that that person has a lot of fears, and just by fearing to go out of a comfort zone, he goes into zone. So the moment when we can affect the decision making of that person and get him out from the comfort zone to the fear zone, the next two zones will already be the growth zone and the learning zone. We'll be able to spread awareness why that digital transformation has to happen, right? That's a very kind of psychological and philosophical thing, but that's the core of every business. You have to give it a go. I'm pretty sure that every single day you also go out of your comfort zone to meet the goal and challenges. Is that correct?
Yeah, so true. And by the way it works on people, like on personal people, all the fear that we feel like, oh, I'm not gonna tackle this, this is out of my reach, or this topic is too difficult for me to handle, etc. The same happens with companies as a whole as well. Like Nokia is a good example here. Companies who failed, who even went bankrupt just because they didn't catch up with a new trend, they didn't catch up with the new methods of doing things. They were just too comfortable in where they were. So exactly. That happens with people personally as well. They just become incompetent one day.
Yes, that's absolutely right. Everything has to start with a plan. Even just deciding to go out of your comfort zone has to be based on a plan, on a strategic path, on a roadmap. If you just don't do that, you plan to fail if you don't have a plan. So it's really important to plan everything. So this transition that you're going to make from point A to point Z will be as smooth as possible, because you see on the end of a tunnel, you can see the light, and you can say, okay, this is why I want to go to that particular point.
True. So let's move on to the next slide.
Okay, so transformation, a need or an alternative? That's the question I want to raise now to the people parties here. How many of you guys think that transformation is a need, and how many of you still believe that that's an alternative? I want to see some answers in the chat because I'm really curious to see whether in the post-pandemic there might be people who still think that transformation is an alternative. In the meantime, I'm gonna tell you a story. Yeah.
Just 1 second. We have one comment. So Arsene here asks, but what if the people or the company you work with doesn't want to leave their comfort zone? How to persuade them to try to go through the fear zone into the learning and growth?
Okay.
Thank you, Arsene.
So first of all, that's a very insightful question. Thank you, Arsene. You just make me put myself into the shoes of the people asking you this kind of questions. But of course, every time we want to go out of a comfort zone, we should know what's the sacrifice of leaving that comfort zone. What's the end goal? What's the motivation behind it? Okay. There are different tools that we implement in coaching when it comes to these kind of situations. In order to motivate someone, do at least the minimum least that person could do just to make one step forward to the fear zone is to tell him what is the end goal that he wants to go for, because there's always a road to coming back, right? He can always come back, but if he doesn't do the first, at least the minimum step, to go ahead, he'll always be in a comfort zone. The moment you can persuade that people affecting the decision making that the comfort zone is only in his mind, not in the reality, that the fear is a matter of his we call it like creencia, like he believes in his mind, the limitations, the limiting beliefs. As long as you can get to understand and explain him that everything lies within himself, you'll be able to help him go out of that comfort zone. It's not really hard. There are a lot of tools. The Wheel of Hudson, there is this different coaching tools, the Grow model. I can provide you some tools so you can try. But as long as you make the first steps, you'll never go back. I assure you.
I assume, Arsene, the financial perspective, because any kind of digitalization process, transformation process means also investment of certain resources. It could be also the human resources, right? You invest so much also energy and time, if not personally, but those of your clients, those of your own employees. So how to do this process as smooth as possible, and also because the client himself has to convince so many people within his or her organization that they have to go through the process as well. It means their human resources. It means their individual contributors.
Yes. That's a very good question, because I was going to go to that point eventually within the webinar a little bit later. But let me tell you one thing. Digital transformation is not the goal of one person. There is no role as such as a digital transformer. Very few companies will have one role of a person called a digital transformer. But transformation starts from the top to the bottom. Okay? Every person, these are that way in the company, has to take care of the transformation and become a leader. When it comes to ROI, right, return on investment, we have to understand how much is the overall amount of money that we invest tools, and why and how it makes sense. For instance, we can use 5 tools, and then you can use one which does the functions of 5, right? It's a very cost-effective way. So in this case, transformation is not just about spending money, it's just the other way. It's about investing money for the common growth of a company. If in the C-level executives, right, you can make them believe that transformation is not something that is necessarily something like frightened, I don't know, like a fear or something like that, then you'll be able to get them see the value behind investing money in it. Okay, so let's just put aside all kinds of fears, and let's see that transformation is always a need, especially in the post-pandemic. Let me just tell you something before we go to VUCA and BANI. So I used to live in Barcelona for 12 years before I moved back to Armenia. So when I used to live there, I used to work for Google. And at a certain point, when in the March of 2020, woke up and then we discovered that the entire world is full of COVID-19 cases, there was a total sense of isolation. And there was the biggest moment was asking himself, herself, like, am I ready for a digital transformation? Am I ready to go out of my comfort zone and work from home, right? Am I ready to stay at home 20 and work from home? Am I ready to just not do all the things that I used to do? And at that point, I happened to provide coaching services. I just came to my manager and I said, look, let's try to see how people will be attracted by coaching. Let's try to help them, accompany them in these hard times. So we instilled coaching techniques at work. We actually decreased the targets. We decreased the targets. We experimented all kinds of things. We created the digital strategy. We accompanied them and started doing product trainings from the perspective of coaching. And you can't believe 3 months were passed and people were completely different. It was the biggest experiment that I've ever done in my life. 700 people within the company doing something that I would never even imagine. That happened just without my wish. It was COVID times, and then I ended up forming a part of it, right? So everything happens if it's supposed to happen. Excuse me. So
Yeah,
let's
you're so true. Your point is so true. In fact, the biggest change in an organization happens when people start to learn. And
yeah.
I like just a couple of days ago, I was talking with the C-level executive of the company. I want to name names here. It wouldn't be professional, but there is one thing that I've been amazed. He under his supervision, he had 7,000 people. Imagine 7,000. This is like a scale you and me, we don't know what is this scale about, right? And what a CEO of such a company does in a day. And I was just so surprised when he named training as one of his core responsibilities still. And it is that means something, even at a bigger scale.
Yes.
Training remains as one of the most important things that happens not from the down to up level, right, but from up to down. It starts from the managing like
Yes.
supervision supervisors and managing team up until the
Very low.
very low levels of the organization, right? And yeah, so you're so true. It's so true about motivation and about keeping up to date, and even at hard times such as COVID.
Yes, exactly. And this is not the first time that these kind of things happen. Let's look at the 1980s. It was the time of volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Since then, 20 years and even more than 20 years have passed. People couldn't even the threats of those things like VUCA reality. But then everything changed when in the 2018 the BANI reality came into play. So the BANI reality changed the rules of game. It brought about completely different situation, and people started having those anxieties, non-linear attitude, incomprehensible situation. And then starting from 2020, COVID. Just imagine how many things came at a time, and if people couldn't tackle the challenges, we would just stay where we are. People learned to adapt themselves to the new rules of a game, right? Work from the offices, even work more, because I personally work nearly like 10 hours than in the office. So I mean, we are quite adaptable to situations as long as we are motivated and we see that there is no other option to do it. So sometimes the
Yeah.
changes let us think twice on many things.
Well, the same works when the financial crisis happened in 2008, and after that, nobody even believed that everything will come back to its normal, especially with the real estate market. But somehow it did, and one thing that we learned is that nobody should stop learning. Like the two bankers that knew. There is even a movie about it. The two bankers that knew that the crisis is going to happen. They were even planning. They had invested a massive amount of money in the crisis being that the crisis would happen, and they earned huge amount of money based on that.
Exactly.
So that's
even from this crisis. A lot of people have gone out like millionaires with 7 to 8 figures, money just coming out of a virtual business. If not for COVID, none of the things would have happened. So I think that's something also motivating. Okay.
So let's move on to the next slide.
Okay, so as I mentioned you, it's all about mindset. It's all about the maturity, like literally in every life, even at home, every single decision depends on a mindset, right? From the point of a mindset you approach it, things can change to negative or positive side. So it's important. I'm addressing this especially to Arsen because he came up with a very insightful question. If you want to know what your team thinks of you, right, or a solution that you offer, any other tool, process, anything that needs optimization, come up with something as simple as digital mindset tests. This way you can ask, like, what do they think about this technology, right? Are they happy about everything that happens in among, in their environment? Are they happy about the tools they use? Are they happy about the chair they're sitting on? Like a lot of different things about the food that they have at work, or any other simple thing that can happen there, right? And asking them those questions, you can see whether they're emotionally satisfied and whether they are digitally ready to go for something new. And then same way you can do this digital maturity test about the tools that you use, right? For instance, I'm using Soho, or I'm using Bitrix, I'm using Zapier. You can just see how comfortable they are with the tools. And if you see that loads of people have a hard time using 30% of whatever tool, or maybe 50%, that's already a good indicator that this tool has to be changed, because the people have a hard time using it. So you should monetize not only the tool, but also the time they spend on it, because it is not friendly, it's not so effective, right? So you can just save up both time and money at the same time. Okay, so in the end, I will definitely provide those tests to you, so you can just take it and go to your companies and run these digital tests. And then if you want to send us maybe the findings, we'll be happy to provide feedback as a bonus.
Yes, and if you are interested in receiving it, please write a comment saying, please send me the test, or please provide me with the material. We'll make sure to email you right after the webinar.
Sure, for sure.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to some of the most important and interesting parts. I don't want to bore you because the topic is free, but I really want to make it as interactive as possible. So digital transformation is a permanent process, just like Susanna mentioned, like the learning. So it's not like you learn once and that's it. We'll learn throughout the entire life, right? So digital transformation is about technology, is about people, processes. So as long as technology evolves, you can't just stop doing digital transformation, right? So you can't say, okay, I have installed hundreds of tools. I have 5 people doing digital transformation. I'm done. My mission is done. Not at all. That's just the fundament. Go ahead, build new stones on the house that you have built with the digital transformation, because the time will come, then you'll see that no matter what you do, even how little impact you make, it has a big impact in terms of revenue for your business. Okay, because digital transformation, maybe the result will be visible within a year, but definitely starting from 1 year to more years, you'll see a lot of ROI coming back to you, because your money will come 24/7 from the business. Really important to focus on that. And now I want to just go to the next slide and explain my perspective on what digital transformation is. Let's say we see a lot of companies having a digital transformation. I can just bring you a few names. Amazon, right? Do you guys remember how Amazon started? Simple website with simple marketplace, nothing else than that, run by a few people, like years ago. But just look at it, it's become a big giant, right? A big giant, just doing everything up to music making, video making, like, videos and everything. So it's a huge transformation. But why it happened? Because initially identified the need, they reacted to the need, they were proactive, and they ended up being top company in terms of transformation. But when you look at this theory, the tip of the iceberg theory, you just see the success and you say, wow, Amazon was successful, right? But you never ask yourself, like, how many times they've been failing, right? How many, let's say, beliefs they had to break, how many hours they had to dedicate, values they had to consider to go to that perspective, and how many tools they have tried in order not to fail. So this is something that has to happen every single day at whatever process you guys work on. Let's go to
there's one thing that comes to my mind. And whenever a company has reached a point when they already realize that it's either transformation happening in terms of digitalization, or it's going to be bankrupt or lose clients or lose credibility in the market. And they just forget that once they do it, once they pass this danger and they do the digitalization, if they do not keep moving in the same way on a daily basis, upgrading, improving, they will come to the same point over and over throughout their whole like lifetime of the business. And I have actually certain examples of it, but I will share it at the end of the session. I don't want to bore the audience right now. So that's what Nari means under this process being permanent.
Okay, yeah, it's absolutely so. Arsen is writing that he has to leave, but of course we'll make sure to send him the material later on. Thank you for your So that's absolutely right, Susanna. So let's just say what digital transformation is to me, at least, right? I already said hundreds of times. So it's not just about technology, but it's technology plus digital mindset plus digital commitment. Why I came up with this word commitment, because to me, as someone who is motivated, so someone who puts motivation in the core of everything she does, everything starts and ends with commitment. As long as you have commitment, you can have right people who are committed to you and to the ideas that you want to work for. So if you have the best tools and the digital mindset, but you don't have the right team who is committed, you'll not be able to reach your point. Very important to have these three things in place. Susanna definitely agrees, because she has to run a team, and commitment of great people in a team is what matters in all contexts, right?
Yes, always. The hardest thing is never coming up with a process. It's not attracting clients. It's not retaining even them. The hardest thing is communicating and retaining a good world-class team, because it takes so much of time to recruit, to really have this balance of values inside the team, and then new incoming members that they continue with the same values that I've set, that they move on with the same speed and quality that you have set, and plus retaining them and always keeping their motivation up. That's the hardest thing in the world. And any leader that or executive or a startup owner that is joining our webinar right now or will watch in the future, just know that you are doing already a great job at leading, because it's so hard to lead a team in the right way constantly. You always fail as a leader. There is a point when you fail, and it matters. It really matters who will follow you, who will help you stand up and continue what you're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's just move on.
So let's go to some important opinions that people express, people who definitely have been there, did transformation. And I want to make a reference to Peggy Chan, who mentioned transformation is all about connecting better with digital customers, because I said that transformation is about people, but I didn't say what kind of people: clients, customers, or people who work for the company. It's more customers, because everything that a business does is to serve the customers better. That's why digital transformation has to serve the customers, but it's also about the people who work in the company internally. So it's overall about the people experience, I can say. And also I want to make a reference to other people who just said that it's just restructuring of a business. So it's not just tools, it's restructuring completely. Whether you want to just go to a different market, you want to change the domain, the business line, you want to be somewhere else, it just takes one decision to make with your group to go for transformation.
Sure. Just a sec. Yeah.
So digital transformation is not just the technology makeover. We just said it. It's a combination of systems, processes, people, and technology. Let's move on to the next point. I think it's already clear to pretty much everyone that it's not just the technology game. But of course, many people confuse these three words. That's why I wanted to have this once in a while, just talk about this as well. So many people say, oh, digitization is also digital transformation, right? And when I ask them, like, what do you mean by digitization? The answer is like, I don't do anything manually. I just do everything. They say, okay, you're right, but this is digitization. It is not transformation. You still have the same business process in place, right? Even if you do digitalization, not digitization, you still do not change the process. Let's say if you are an accountant and you used to work with paperwork and then you change work to computer one, right? Or else if you just make the process a little bit smoother or quicker, you just work on the process. You don't digitize the entire line, the entire chain. So in order to have a digital transformation, you should find a new way to make use of your accounting, right? To reach out to your clients, to the maths, to just find a different way to create the funnel of the financial accounting cash flow system, rather than just saying, okay, I did just these little digital transformation. So digital transformation is the combination of everything that is on the screen. And if you just want to go for it, you have to go for it fully, right? But you can even, I mean, in the beginning, you can start partially, but later on, it's recommended to go fully to the whole cycle.
Yes. In terms of the difference between digitization and digitalization words, what is the difference?
So the difference basically is just say the speed, the velocity, the process that you used to make from manual to automated one, or from manual to digital one, is just being a little bit accelerated, right? It's not like an account doing something on the computer, but I mean, when you start using different tools, like different specific tools, which reduce the time, reduce the path, the roadmap, and try to add some value to the business by identifying additional data which may serve the needs of your customers or clients, that's already digitalization, okay? But digitization and digitalization is just like those little processes which try to turn from analog to from analog to digital, or from physical to digital one. Just those little small actions, rather than the big picture when you just do like a big investment in moving to something more accelerated.
Thank you for clarifying, Nari. Yes, thank you. So let's move on to the next one.
Okay, so 4 pillars of transformation. So if you noticed, here we have 4 points. Each in the first 2 ones we talk about people, in the last 2 ones we talk about processes and actions, etc. So why? Because I already said that if you want to go for these digital transformation, you should consider the needs of your employees. Then you should engage your customers, because who better can understand the needs of your employees, right? Let's say, the customers than your employees, right? So there always should be a connection from your team, people they serve, right? It's a two-way street. Also, you should transform your products and services if you want to be there before your competitors, because your competitors are over there. They want to just do something else. They want to optimize the processes, right? So you should always optimize your operations. What do I understand by saying an operation? Like, imagine we communicate on a daily basis, right? If we see that the communication doesn't happen the way we imagine, there are people who don't react well, what we should do, just change the communication line, right? Change the tool, try to understand by running a test where we see the failure. And then after the failure, where we identify the failure where we have to work on that particular process, on that operation. Let's say the choice of a tool is not a good one, or it's in a language that not speak well, or it's not so user let's say UI UX, how do you call it? User experience is low. Yeah, so these kind of things on the performance. So you have to always base ourselves on these 4 pillars if you want people to react to digital transformation challenges. Now I want to talk about the next slide, which is about 4 types of digital transformation. Again, this is going to be like a little repetition, but it's important for you to identify one thing, okay? Because most of people ask me, Nari, what's the difference between a business process or a business model, business domain, or anything else? Just explain in a few lines. So business process is, let's say, a cash flow process, or a communication flow process, right? Or flow process, something that does not work in your company. It's a business process. You take the business process, you analyze, then you plan a strategy to improve it, and then you track and measure the process, right? Business model is something else. Like, by saying a business model, I mean, for instance, company that used to do trainings starts providing consultings and mentoring, right? So they change a little bit the business model. They choose something that is quite similar to what they were doing, right? But they just have 3 different business lines. So they still do not change the entire business model. They still do something similar to what they're doing, but of course they expanded. By talking about business domain, what we mean is when Amazon, for instance, from a marketplace decided to do videos. So they entered a completely domain because they wanted to end up in a different country. They wanted to be where their clients are everywhere in different countries of the world. So they changed the domain. Like, let's imagine if Airbnb wanted to do movies, it would also be like a change of a domain, right? Or if some carpooling service wanted to do wedding, that would have been a change of a domain. So these kind of things, you never know, things change, and businesses sometimes change the scope of activities, but this is a change of a domain. But the thing that is quite close to my heart is a cultural and organizational process in a digital transformation, because the culture is what matters, guys. I've been working with different cultures, like multi-language, multinational, multi-religious, and every time I had a chance to talk with people with different mindsets, I kind of understood how it is to mingle with them, to kind of find lines of collaboration, to really understand those people in the core, because you share 80% of your time with those people, and if you have some lines which do not work, it's going to make the business more hard for your client. So these are the core changes for types of transformation that every company has. Of course, choosing which one suits the best to goals.
And they can be always mixed, right?
Exactly, yeah. Hybrid strategies, of course. That's in fashion now. Okay, so who is digital responsible person in the company? Actually, as I said, it's not just a digital transformer. It can be chief information officer, chief digital officer, chief marketing officer, but pretty much everyone, like even junior positions, even someone who doesn't have a C-level position can feel responsible for the digital transformation of every single component in the company. Sorry. So that's something that doesn't need explanation.
Yeah.
So let's digitize your business strategy. We're going to go straight to action. We're going to identify 6 key areas. I'm going to not deep dive too much in this because I'm really afraid the time will not be sufficient. We have 15 more minutes to go for. So let's go to the first aspect, which is about ERPs. Let's go. So yeah, decision making. So I want to ask you guys that everyone makes decisions on a daily basis, right? If you are in a company, of course, the decisions are character than at home on personal relationships. But in a company, decision making is literally based on enterprise resource planning and business intelligence. So I may wonder, what is this enterprise resource planning? But everything like some tools that you use, right? Some softwares, for instance, CRM software, I don't know, cash flow software, accounting, financial, risk management, some sort of crypto, whatever, right? Cybersecurity, all kinds of ways that you use on a daily basis to gather data, place the data there, and then see how the data affects the decision making of a company is an enterprise resource planning tool. Because if you don't have those tools, your decision making will be affected greatly, right? Because of the lack of those tools. And business intelligence, the data that we put into those tools so we can make more informed decisions on a day-to-day basis. Any questions on that? Please feel free to come up with questions. I want to just go a little bit quicker this part because I mean it's long. That's why I want to just make the best use of the time. Information management is also really important. What happened during COVID times? A lot of businesses they didn't have the cloud storages or anything like that. People didn't have access to those storages, so if they had to work from a different setting, so what they did, they had to go and buy like big data or cloud file storages in order to make use of the information, so their people can work right from everywhere. So it's really important to have those tools, but of course with one important warning: cybersecurity. You have to always make sure that no cybersecurity attacks will happen, because a lot of cases we had during COVID times, and that's one of the key things. Even like Google is not, or Google Cloud is not so safe for businesses. I have seen a few cases of my clients being affected by hacking and stuff like that. So curious about that, even if you don't believe that this may happen to you. Now the third aspect that I want to talk about is talent generation. So everybody nowadays has learning management system or online education, which are platforms that give a chance to your team for ongoing education. Susanna agrees that we like most people nowadays, we always work on ourselves. We always make use of the tools that we have at our disposal, provided by the companies we work with in order to educate. I'm a big fan of Linda trainings. I mean, wherever I used to work on, I used to just dedicate, like 30% of my time on a daily basis, hopefully, if I get time, to online education. So it's really important. In a digital transformation context, it is important because once you train your team to become digital transformers, you'll see that, it will best of luck and in whatever they'll be doing. And let's viva transformation.
Yes. Thank you so much for watching. So let's keep in touch and let us know if you have any questions. Thank you. Bye everyone.
Thank you, Giselle. Bye. Bye.
People will need time to watch it even after we're done and direct their questions to us. So let's give them a try and let's give them a time. We promise to answer to any one of your questions. And by the way, to anyone who is interested in digital transformation in more depth, who want coaching, who want consultation, you can feel free to address us for that, and also send us your specific questions about your own business. Send us any information you can so we can give you high quality feedback.
Exactly. Thank you once again for the time, for your presence, for being here and just sharing, even with your presence, okay? Because it's really important to talk more of these, to let people know how important is transformation.
Thank you so much, Nari. It was my pleasure. Actually, this is just the beginning of our cooperation, and I believe we'll have upcoming webinars on maybe other topics within digital marketing, or closer topics than that. So
I wish them best of luck and in whatever they'll be doing. And let's viva transformation.
Yes. Thank you so much for watching. So let's keep in touch and let us know if you have any questions. Thank you. Bye everyone.
Thank you, Giselle. Bye.